What is up, YouTube? Welcome to my review of the Sony 50mm 1.8, the cheapest full frame lens that you can get. But first, enjoy this intro. Let's go. What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Brian. If you are new here on this channel, we talk about cameras and things like that. But here today we're talking about the Sony 50mm 1.8, the cheapest full frame lens that you can get for the full frame system. All right, guys, so let's talk about specs a little bit first. But first off, I want to tell you this. I've been trying to shoot this video for probably 3 to 4 weeks, and I've just been struggling with it because I want my videos to get better, and it just, with work and everything, I haven't been able to do that. But what I'm going to record tonight, I'm going to go ahead and edit and push it out there so I can give you guys another video, and also, you know, let you know about this lens. So let's talk about specs. This lens has a 49mm filter thread for the front, so you can put on NDs, or like what I got on there right now, which is a black pro mist filter. If you don't know what a black pro mist filter is, it kind of helps blows out the highlights and gives you a better soft look. Sometimes your camera can be too sharp, and you know, having a black pro mist filter on your lens definitely helps. And there is plenty of reviews on YouTube for you to check out. Maybe one day I will do a review myself. But back to the specs, it also has a 47-degree viewing angle. That's how much you can see from where you're standing. People say that the 50mm lens is what we see with our eyes when you got it on a full frame system. You know, they say that is correct. I don't know, I haven't really looked it up, but I'm assuming it is because I've heard Philip Bloom say that that's what it is. So that's what it is, right? All right, guys, so moving on. This lens weighs 6.6 ounces. It is very light, fits in the palm of your hand. It has 7 rounded aperture blades, and I think for a very cheap lens, it gives some nice, beautiful bokeh. Now, I don't do none of that people, how do you say it, pixel peeping and zooming all in 100%, 200% to see what the bokeh balls actually look like. But as far as like giving that nice blurry background, I don't know if you can see it from here, but behind me, it looks pretty blurry on my monitor. Now, that is that so-called cinematic look, and I do enjoy it, and I'm sure you probably enjoy it too, because ain't we all trying to go after that cinematic look? Anyways, what else can I tell you about the specs of this lens? So yeah, that's it for specs. Like I said, this thing is small. It fits in the palm of your hand. If you're just getting into Sony and say, you know, or just getting into the full frame system, this lens probably goes perfect with the Sony A7C. It is a full frame camera. If you don't know about it, like I said, it's full frame, and you know, it's a very small compact camera. They made it for vlogging. And you know, it's basically a Sony A7 III, just kind of shrunk down, and they gave it some better specs. That is definitely a camera that I will look into if you're interested in getting into Sony full frame. Me, myself, I came up from Sony APC cameras. I had the Sony A6400 and the 6600, and I love those cameras, and now I have the Sony Fx3, but believe me, it was a long journey to get to this camera. I had multiple different cameras in between, and yeah, it's been an awesome journey. One day I'll do a review on how many cameras I've had. I'm sure that all of us has had plenty, but if you're just getting into this, yeah, like I said, the Sony A7C is a great option. Now, it is also a great option, this 50mm lens, on the Sony Fx3. I don't know if you've ever held a Sony Fx3 before, but the Sony Fx3 is built very small and nice and compact and feels very rugged. And with the 50mm lens on it, it's pretty compact, and I've actually really enjoyed this lens, guys. For it to be so cheap, it has created some of the best pictures I've ever done, and here are some of them now. Let's talk about some of the positive things about this lens. This lens, how can I say this? This lens, it works a lot better than it used to. When I first started getting into YouTube and photography and things like that, you know, I looked up the review for this lens. It was about 2 years ago, and people didn't have a lot of nice things to say about this lens, and it struggled with autofocus and things like that. And recently, I don't know how recently, if it's been in the last year or so, Sony has updated the firmware on this lens. It is firmware 3.0, so if you do pick up this lens, make sure that you check and see what firmware it is up to date at. So make sure it's got 3.0 in it. And once I did that, I could tell a big difference on how this thing focuses. Like right now, I can see it on my monitor and it's just tracking right onto my eyes. All right, guys, so here is another view of that with my phone, so you can see it on my monitor. That first little version was not the perfect one, so let's redo it here. So as you see that I walk to the camera, it stays locked onto my left eye, switches to my right. I go out of screen here, way over here, hop back in, big square first and then little square. It does a pretty dang good job, I would say. When I've used it for photos, for portraits, does the same thing, no problem at all. I actually just really love this lens for how cheap you can get it. Now, I got mine off of Amazon, and at Amazon, I believe they're $256. If you scroll down a little bit, sometimes you can catch a deal, and it'll say something like, this lens is like new, basically new. And those packages are usually like the package is a little roughed up, or it's not in its original packaging, but the lens is still brand new. And I love catching those little deals. And yeah, it came fine. Now, so let's talk about the few bad things about this lens. This lens, the other day when I was out on the beach shooting with it, here's a few shots of that. It wasn't the best shots that I've ever had. Yeah, I was out at the beach shooting with this lens, and you know, it was bright and sunny, and you know, it was bright out there. So I went to go put a ND system or ND filter onto the lens, right? And I used a couple step-up rings and put on there, and the lens did not like that, not at all. It actually malfunctioned all the way to the point where it would not focus at all, and it would actually not show me the aperture settings on the camera. It was making the camera think that the lens was in manual focus mode, and it would not work. So I was kind of freaking out a little bit. I was like, oh man, this lens not gonna work ever again. And yeah, so I took off the ND filter and the step-up rings and turned it to aperture priority mode, and I got it back working. I actually had to turn the camera off and take the lens off and wait a few seconds, put it back on, turn the camera on, and once I had all that weight off the lens, like I said, we had no problems. It went right back to focusing like it is now. It's working beautiful. Also, another problem that I have with this lens, and it's very minute, it's very subtle, and that is that this lens does sometimes make noise when it is trying to focus. Now, with a shotgun mic on there, and me using the shotgun mic as like backup audio, I haven't really heard it. I haven't had no issues. Like, you really have to like stick your ear up to it to hear it. So it's not really a problem. And yeah, guys, I can't really think of any other reason that this lens is bad. It's actually just a great deal. If you're getting into the game, or you've been shooting, you know, photography and videography, but you were scared to pick up this lens because of reviews in the past, I urge you to pick it up now. You know, everybody says when you start getting into cameras and stuff, and you get your first camera, you get your, you know, lens that comes with the camera, and it's just not ever that great. So the first thing people buy or say to buy is the 50 nifty, if that's what you want to call it, and that's what I kind of call it. And it takes your photography level and videography level, you know, up a couple notches, because it's so cheap, and you get that 1.8 aperture, and it gives you that beautiful cinematic bokeh behind you. Guys, thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions about this lens, or about my setup, or about who I am, or anything like that, let's start a conversation down in the comment section. I would love to get to know who you guys are that are watching my channel. I'm sorry about how sweaty I am. I live in South Mississippi, and it is already getting unbelievably hot. You know, drop down in the comments where you're watching from. I would love to know that. The 140 people that are subscribed to my channel, thank you so much. And if you are new here and you like this kind of content and you like cameras and you like watching someone else learn that's just like you maybe, and you're trying to learn too, hit that subscribe button for me. I'm trying to grow this channel. I would love to one day, you know, pay my bills off of YouTube and things like that. Once again, guys, thank you for watching my channel. I will catch you in the next one. Peace.